All by herself, she built the kingdom that she wanted. Hearty welcome to the marvelous Mahila for the day, Mrs. Neerja Singh. Eminent speaker on generation gap, an author and a social sensitization advocate.
तो नीजा मैम, बहुत वेलकम है आपका हमारे प्लेटफॉर्म पे। प्लीज हमारी सारी महिलाओं को इंस्पायरिंग अपनी स्टोरी सुनाएं प्लीज।
Thank you very much, Maninder. And I'm sure you get plenty of women very happy to participate in this because many of us don't feel as heard as we would like to be.
Yeah, that
so
is
compliments to you on doing this program. Now, you said my name is Neerja Singh. I'm currently a professional speaker on the generation gap. All my focus and my work is on talking about the generation gap, on doing research on generation gap. I write about generation gap. I make videos on generation gap. I just finished writing a book on generation gap. And the reason I do that is I see all around me that in the last 10 years, the kind of generation gap that's happened in our country is something that's happened in other countries only over a staggered period of almost 70 years. So the change has been so sudden that I think it's left many of us, parents, bosses, their employees and their children confused.
Difficult to absorb so much of new technology.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's very, very difficult, very painful sometimes. You want to do the right thing, but you don't know what the right thing is anymore. For example, men today don't know what it means to be a man because women expect them to be more vulnerable. And the role of a father and a mother, those roles are changing. The roles of husband and wife, that arrangement is being renegotiated.
Yes.
So a lot of changes. And that's why my preoccupation with this particular topic, I feel very, very strongly about it. Now, you wanted me to start talking about my
your life journey, ma'am. We would like to know more about your work, the way you told us. And apart from that, we would like to hear more of any challenges you have faced in your life as a woman.
Yes.
And you want to share with us.
Right, Maninder. When I was growing up, I had a very regular, very happy childhood and an upbringing, a very loving upbringing. In fact, I am very proudly call myself a Fauji brat. So my father was in the army and we are a family. My husband retired last year from the Indian Air Force. So I'm a very proud Fauji. The upbringing was regular. My parents put us in the best possible education school, in the best possible schools, which in those days used to be the convent schools. And because I was reasonably good in studies, I did fairly well. I ended up taking science because in those days, people used to say that only lallus take humanities.
Even
the good students, yes. That if you're a good student, science was worship. Science was the subject to study.
Yes.
And I remember going to Ferguson College, sitting in the vice principal's office. My father was sitting next to me and the vice principal had his pen on the form and he was looking at me and asking, all right, subject. I said, options, chemistry or English literature? I said, both. He said, no, that doesn't happen. And out of this pressure of being a decent student and wanting to please everybody around me, I said, all right. And I ended up studying chemistry, made great friends in Ferguson College, Pune, fantastic college, but I would have done brilliantly, I think, in English literature because that came very naturally to me. Childhood went like that. It was good, and but the challenge now. As soon as I turned 22, my friends started getting married around me. And I began to get the message from my ecosystem that I'm perhaps a bit too ambitious and that it's not nice to be, be so ambitious for a nice girl. It was not considered a very feminine quality. Today, it is more acceptable for women to be ambitious. Yes, I encourage my daughters to be ambitious, but back then, my mother said that I want my daughters, her philosophy was, all right, get a good education, work for about 2 years, so that should there be any need, any circumstances, you are able to hold your own. But she never thought in terms of a proper profession. But when it came to my children, I encouraged them to get professionally qualified, to go into the workforce. So that was a challenge there because I wanted to make a different choice. I wanted to I wanted to set up my own ad agency, but that was not happening because there was pressure from around to get married. So that was the first challenge. Hmm. And I think it's quite common for my generation. It's not so unusual. Many of us experience that.
One good social change you expect for women, which should be in the society by now, or in future definitely should be.
All right. My biggest apprehension right now as a mother of two daughters is also that although women have changed a lot, but the environment around them has not been able to keep pace because the conditioning is too deep rooted and the system and the power structure is too deeply entrenched. So my hope for society is that first, number one, kindness, acceptance, because we are actually sitting on the cusp of massive changes and a lot is going to change. It's happening too fast. So if society as a social system, us included, you and me, Maninder and Neerja, part of the social system, if we can be more kind, if we can be more accepting,
Acceptance.
if we can, yes, if we can give each other people the benefit of doubt, and if we can work from a place of good faith belief, right? You understand? You're benevolent. You don't doubt the other person. You tell yourself there must be a reason why that person is a particular way. And especially with women challenging the space around them, they're claiming public domain. They're celebrating their sexuality today. They're challenging the power structure, the hierarchy, the patriarchy. There are a lot of young women who are really out there. There's a lot of kind of a repressed anger perhaps built over many decades. Therefore, they're going to face resistance. Freedom is, your space is never given very happily because that's
There's a
how,
lot of stereotypes
yes,
existing.
exactly. That's how it is.
Yes, an inspirational figure you admire most, and that should be a woman. Woman, probably, yes. Woman figure.
A woman. Actually, Maninder, I was inspired by an author called Ayn Rand. I read her at a very impressionable age. I was very young when I read her.
Okay.
So Ayn Rand was a big influence on me. Yes, I was completely taken up by her. I absorbed her values, and I think a lot of my life decisions came from her philosophy. And as a role model, I've had plenty of role models around me, but my biggest support has been my mother. She's the one who has celebrated every little win of mine, every little good thing that a task that I pulled off, an award or a prize that I won. When my children did well, it was my mom. So my greatest pleasure has been to do something. In fact, even this interview, I told her, I called her up and told her, I said, this Maninder who's, yeah. So I share that with I share every little thing with my mom. Yes. So, and that gives me a lot of pleasure, a lot of pleasure. Perhaps I'm old school there, but it's important to me that I make my parents proud. It's deeply important to me. It really matters. Yeah.
I have a very last question, ma'am. We, as you know by now, that we are associated with women and we have a lot many. So, what type of message or advice you want to give to the women who are associated with us and our team, and who will be watching your video?
Look, Maninder, the truth is, it's a harsh truth, but what we as women do, we've been disenfranchised group. That means we've always practiced power by proxy. Your power, my power, it's come either from the husband or from the father or from the boss or from a brother. We've not had the opportunity to cultivate or build, consolidate our own personal power. And that has happened because I am not seen as a a whole human being. I'm always seen in relation to somebody else more powerful around me. That part has to change. Society, people, families, men, they have to give women permission to be, just permission. It's unfortunate that I'm using it, putting it like that. Why should a human being created by God need anybody's permission to be? But that's how the structure is. The first thing people in this gender permission to be. And by the way, there are other genders that are coming up. So we go back to saying that acceptance bit of it.
Acceptance has to be.
And yes, that acceptance has to be there. And the second thing I think women need to do is be each other's friends. Because we are disempowered, we play a double role. We are one thing with each other, but whenever a powerful person enters the scene, we become different. We become, helpless. We bat our, like that. We do bat our eyelids and we become feminine, and we play this double role. Unfortunately, it's a little manipulative, but it happens because that's our survival was based on this, right? That is my message to women, that if you can stop doing that, be each other's friends, empathize with the other woman, understand what is happening with her.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Maninder. Take care. Take care.
Thank you so much. Lovely having you.